Hello and welcome back to the NUFC Opinion Blog. This time for an opposition fan preview. Newcastle play Everton on Saturday, and therefore I am joined by Callum Davies, who is a massive Everton supporter. Callum, how are we?
I'm all right, mate. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Thank you very much for joining me today. Firstly, I thought I'd start by asking, what are your thoughts going into Saturday's match?
Well, we're off the back of a pretty decent run of form, and you're not.
No,
I think
not at all.
you've lost like
You haven't won in 11 games.
yeah, and you're not exactly scoring loads of goals either. I think it's like 3 in 8 or something, 4 in 9, or I don't know. And we seem pretty solid defensively because we at the moment we play fullback, but we play Godfrey and Holgate at fullbacks, and they're both centre backs naturally. So the core of our team is built off this like really, really solid defense. There's not much flair about it, but it works. We've kept clean sheets against like over the Christmas period. We had Arsenal, Leicester, and Chelsea, I think it was, in quick succession, and we like held them out really well. Clean sheets in 2 of the 3. So I would back us in the game, but I backed us last time at St James's because that was when we were on the run of like 6 wins on the run, and you were all right at the moment at that time, but I just thought we were unbeatable, and you outplayed us. We weren't great, but you were the better side, and it could definitely happen again.
I mean, from my point of view, I'd love to think so. As much as I'm opposed to the current management situation at Newcastle, we desperately need points in any way, shape, or form that they come. Obviously, as you mentioned there, Everton have certainly had a good season. They've had a lot of good winning runs, and are you in the top 6 at the moment?
I think we're 6th, yeah.
Yeah. So how would you rate Everton's season so far?
I definitely would have to give it a high rating. We've gone through spells, as most teams have this season. We went on the winning run at the start of the season, and then went on like a 4-game losing run, and another winning run, and now we're kind of just scattered losses here and there. The West Ham wasn't great. I'd say there's a good opportunity to break into a European spot this season, and the fact that we're almost in February and we're still sat around and amongst it. If we win our games in hand, which is we've got Villa is winnable, City they're on a bit of a run, tough. But if we win our games in hand, we can end up above Liverpool in February. So it's hard to not look at it as a very impressive season so far. But the way the season is, it's so easy for it to just fall apart in 3 losses because Chelsea have had this awful season apparently, and they're 2 wins away from being right back in there.
I know.
So you've got to be happy with where we are at the moment. Can't be too.
Certainly a lot happier than we are at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Speaking of Newcastle, obviously there's a lot talked about Newcastle in the situation with the ownership and the management. What do you make of Newcastle as a club in general, and of course with the current situation? There's a lot of protests as to wanting Steve Bruce out. There was the failed takeover back in the summer. That could still happen. We don't really know what the situation is with that. So what do you make of everything that's going on at Newcastle?
I think it's going to sound really patronising, but I do feel really sorry for Newcastle fans.
That's quite all right. I feel sorry for us as well.
You're a massive club, and you deserve more than just surviving every year and being happy with that. And I don't follow Newcastle, but I read this article the other day, and Shearer did it in the Athletic.
Yeah.
And he goes on about how the management of the club is really poor, like from the top down. But then he doesn't really mention Steve Bruce because he's kind of mates with him. And I feel like obviously feel bad for Steve Bruce because he tried his best, but he just isn't what Newcastle fans want, clearly. I mean, I don't understand why Benitez wasn't backed, and then all that money was thrown at Steve Bruce in the summer.
Yeah.
It's confusing to me as an outsider, and I do just feel sorry for the club and the fans having to put up with that because they're expected to as well. Every time they pipe up about an issue with the club and how we want more, they get shot down by pundits who like expect Newcastle fans to be happy with survival, and that's not what a club like Newcastle should be happy with. It's annoying because we were in the same position, and obviously we're not out of it yet, but we got back in, got a good owner in with loads of money, got Ancelotti now, so the signs are looking up. We've got something to look forward to, and for Newcastle fans, I can never see where there is something to look forward to.
It is refreshing to hear that from an opposition supporter. I mean, you're right. There's a lot said in the media by pundits who saying that we expect too much, but that couldn't be further from the truth. All we expect is a team that can compete and can actually give us something to maybe believe in a little bit and just have some pride about ourselves. But we don't even have that at the moment. Certainly, would you say that the current situation on field is more to do with the manager than the players? Because certainly I think the players and the squad is decent.
Yeah, it's a talented bunch of players, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that to an extent. I mean, last season he got a bit of a tune out of them. I mean, the football wasn't great, but I'm not sure where he finished, but it was pretty respectable.
We came 13th, but even since then we've improved the squad. We have good players. We have Callum Wilson, who's he's a brilliant striker, but and started the season quite well, but suddenly he's not firing because he's not getting the service.
I know. You against Leeds, I watched that game, and you always seem to, in other games that I've watched, you play like 3 or 5 at the back, and he played 4 at the back, didn't he, against Leeds, or for at least the second half.
Yeah,
and that's
never consistent.
Half, you were like completely on top, and I thought you definitely deserved more.
See, this is the problem, of course, because even though it was a slight improvement in the performance in the second half, it's still another loss, and football's a results-driven business, and so it is concerning. Given all that we've mentioned, what would be your prediction for a scoreline on Saturday?
At home, it doesn't really suit us because our low block of defenders that we've been using lately, it'll kind of just be like 2 teams because you won't attack, and we will kind of have to attack. I'd say it could definitely swing either way, but I'd like to think it'll be something like a 2-0 win for Everton. I can't really see where you'll have that much.
I could quite easily see that happening. As I say, what's really concerning is that our defensive structure and shape seems to go out the window. We took the lead. Sorry, we equalised against Leeds the other day, and then as soon as that happened, they went back in front again. There was every time they attacked, it seemed like we had only 2 men back all the time, and it is really concerning because A, we're not firing up front, and B, we can't defend. So it's a recipe for disaster.
Really strange. You set up so defensively, but don't seem to be able to defend.
I know.
Like, at least if you're gonna have a shaky defense, you might as well just go for it up front. Try do what Leeds do. They don't claim to be the best defensive team in the world, but they score a lot of goals, and it's definitely fun to watch for a Leeds fan.
Precisely. So yeah, I mean, as I say, we go into the game where Everton sit 6th, Newcastle sit 16th. So there's certainly a big gap. I think when we played you in the first game, it was a lot closer because we'd had a couple of decent results at that point, but we go into this game off the back of no wins in 11, only having scored a goal against Leeds. That was the first goal in about 3 or 4 matches, I think. So it's really a bit depressing to be a Newcastle supporter at this time. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me, Callum. All the best for the rest of the season. I don't know if you want to finish with your signature James Rodriguez or James Rodriguez, up the toffees. I know you always like to say that.
Up the toffees.
Thank you all very much for watching. We'll catch you again soon. And how are the lads?